I don't remember what year this book came out, but I read all three of the Hunger Games books. The second book, Catching Fire, is actually my favorite of the trilogy. And so when this book came out, I think I got this like the week the book came out. And that was years ago that this book came out. Outside of the front cover, I haven't read a single page in this book. But I did see the movie. And welcome to my safe haven, everybody. Thank you guys so much for clicking on another video and joining me here on the Black Gay Comic Geek channel. If this is your first time checking out my channel or checking out one of my videos, let me introduce myself. My name is Michael. I call myself the Black Gay Comic Geek, and I always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So I like to talk superheroes, video games, sci-fi, fantasy, and of course, Black representation and queer representation, all variations of nerddom. So if that's something that you're interested in, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, become one of my safe haveners, help me hit another milestone on this channel of achieving over 9,000 subscribers. And also, if you could do me a favor on this video and every video that you see of mine, hit the like button. It'll really help with the YouTube algorithm and getting this video out there, get my channel out there so more eyes can get on my channel. So guys, we are here to talk about, for some people, the long-awaited and highly anticipated prequel series and continuation of the Hunger Games series. This movie is based on the book. Obviously, I showed the beginning of the book, written by Suzanne Collins, The Ballad of Snakes and Songbirds. Or actually, no, I got that backwards. It's The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And this movie actually follows the rise or the kind of origin story of President Snow, Coriolanus Snow. And so the synopsis of Songbirds and Snakes is: years before he becomes the tyrannical president of Panem, 18-year-old Coriolanus Snow remains the last hope for his fading lineage. With the 10th annual Hunger Games fast approaching, the young Snow becomes alarmed when he's assigned to mentor Lucy Gray Bard from District 12. Uniting their instincts for showmanship and political savvy, they race against time to ultimately reveal who's a songbird and who's a snake. And I mean, we've already seen, or at least I hope you've seen, the original Hunger Games movie, so we already know the answer to the question of which one is the songbird and which one is the snake. Plus, being that one of the characters, Lucy Gray Bard, is played by Rachel Ziegler, and she's a singer, we know who. And then if you look at the soundtrack, she has a lot of scores or a lot of songs on the soundtrack. She's basically the Whitney Houston for The Bodyguard. Well, you know how The Bodyguard soundtrack had nothing but Whitney Houston. And then even The Preacher's Wife, Waiting to Exhale, most of it was all Whitney Houston. That's basically what happens in this soundtrack, where Rachel Ziegler has the majority of the songs on the soundtrack. But some of those songs slap. Like, I do want to get the soundtrack to this movie. And funny enough, and I know I'm going on a little bit of rant, but the Hunger Games soundtracks be slapping. Like, I got a couple of, like, the first Hunger Games movie, Catching Fire, like, I got damn near all the soundtracks, because the soundtracks be good, and that's no different than this movie. But with that said, not just the soundtrack that's good, I really enjoyed this movie. I was super wary at first with them making another Hunger Games movie. I was like, all right, it feels kind of desperate. Like, how long ago was Hunger Games? Like, who's really checking for Hunger Games? And then I also hadn't read the book, so I didn't know if the book was good or not. But now, after watching this movie, I'm like, oh man, I had this book for so long. Now, I'm actually going to go back and read the book. That's how invested and interested I was in this movie. And I'm actually glad I didn't read the book before seeing the movie, because there were so many surprises, and there were things that I needed to be surprised about because of how wary and hesitant and not excited. It's not that I wasn't excited to see this movie. I was just like, oh, I got a screener for Hunger Games, like, whatever, I'll go see it. It's a free movie. But I was just like, who cares? But thank you to Lionsgate for giving me the opportunity to be able to see the movie early. And my God, did you surprise me, because I really enjoyed this movie. I really enjoyed seeing more and seeing the development and seeing the growth and seeing the fall and the descent of pure villainy of Coriolanus Snow and his relationship with Lucy Gray and Lucy Bard, and getting to see, you know, District 12 again, District 1, 2, 3, 4, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And obviously, we know what happens to President Snow. He becomes the president during the original Hunger Games movie, so you know he's not going to die or anything like that happens to him on that level. But seeing where he came from and how he got to the point that where we saw in the Hunger Games movie, you're just like, this makes sense. And we got to see a little bit of the origins of like the first Hunger Games, because this movie takes place mostly at the 10th annual Hunger Games. So it hasn't been that long since the first Hunger Games. So we got to see the original creator of the Hunger Games and Viola Davis as the game maker. And my God, Viola Davis, this is like one of her most wickedly evil roles that she's ever played. And you could tell that she had so much fun in this role. I can't think of the character's name that she played. Dr. Valuma Gall, and just like the costume, the different color eye, like she was just evil. And I loved every time she was on screen. And honestly, I want to see more from her character, than a lot of the other characters in this game. Not in game. I mean, it is a game, it's the Hunger Games, but a lot of the other characters in this movie, and granted, that's not to say I didn't enjoy all the other characters, but she was my favorite person to watch and see and interact with in this movie. And just seeing her interact with Coriolanus Snow and the person that played Coriolanus Snow. Shout out to the actor Tom Blythe. I've never seen him in anything before, but he did a really good job in portraying the character. And then his chemistry with Rachel Zegler. I really loved watching her as Lucy Gray in the movie. And then the whole time watching her, I was just like, why does she look so familiar? Who is she? And duh, I know who she is because she was in the 2021 adaptation of West Side Story. She played one of the Fury of the Gods in Shazam. And now she's playing Lucy Gray Bard in Hunger Games. And I like her as an actress. And she has an incredible voice. I'm not sure if she's a musical artist. Maybe she is, or she just has a musical theater background, or she's just one of those actors that can sing. But the girl can sing. But I will say one thing that I noticed about this particular movie compared to the other movies, and I do feel like considering everything that's going on in the world, it's very timely. I did notice that there were a lot more people of color in this movie than in the original Hunger Games movie. And not only just that, but there were a lot more people of color as the tributes, as the people fighting in the Hunger Games than in the last movie. Because we know, I believe District 11 is the black district where most of the black and brown characters are. But even outside of District 11, there were black and brown characters both as tribute. And then also black and brown characters in Pan Am as the people that lived in the Capitol, as the people that are mentors to the tributes in this movie. And I was just like, I noticed that, and I was just like, wow, because the first couple Hunger Games movies, the first 3 Hunger Games movies, a lot of them were mostly white. And then, of course, obviously, you know, time difference and things like that. But I did read up on Suzanne Collins said part of the reason that she wrote this prequel series is because she wanted to talk more about what's going on today in the times, and more so about government corruption and government overreach, and this idea of, you know, there's this meme going around that says, the story that America tries to tell the world is we're Superman, but the reality of our history is we're actually Homelander. And that meme right there is kind of, not literally that, but that's kind of the narrative that Suzanne Collins wanted to tell with regards to this particular book and this particular story. Not necessarily just America, but just governments of the world, period. And you felt that. You felt a lot of that and a lot of those themes. And the thing that makes this movie different than the other Hunger Games movies, where the original Hunger Games were really about the Hunger Games. Like, most of it took place and followed Katniss's perspective. So yeah, you had the beginning part of following her life, but most of the movies took place in the games. With this movie, what makes it a little bit different, and why people might not like it, and why people may think it's a little bit slow, because I did check that right now it's currently at like maybe like a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, you know, whatever, it is what it is. I would give it much higher. Like, I really enjoyed this movie. It would be much higher than the 64% to me, but this movie, you don't really spend a lot of time in Hunger Games because you're following Coriolanus Snow. Coriolanus Snow is not a tribute. And so a lot of it is following the political intrigue, the side weaving, the politics aspect, almost in a scandal type of way of the Capitol and navigating through the Hunger Games and the politics of all that. And also Snow trying to build his life and build his family legacy back up from where it was to where you see it ends up being in the Hunger Games series, where you see he becomes the president. And so there's a lot of bobbing and weaving and deal making and things like that in this movie. But that type of stuff, I'm interested in that type of stuff. I live for that type of stuff. I love Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder and those types of shows. But yeah, so I looked it up. So I was right. So it's currently sitting at a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I would say because of that, maybe this movie might not be for everybody, because they hear the title Hunger Games and they're probably thinking to themselves, like, I want to see more of the Hunger Games. But you don't really get that in this movie. It's not necessarily about that. It's about snow. But with that said, the time that we do get to spend in the Hunger Games, it was interesting. And I did enjoy it because you started to care for Rachel Zegler's Lucy Gray. And so because you got to see some of her aspects of being in the actual Hunger Games, you were invested, you did care, and you did wonder if she was going to make it out. Now, with that said, the Hunger Games aspect of the movie is not even most of the movie. It's probably, I would say, only like a half hour of the movie. So yeah, so because of that, you might have people that won't enjoy it because they're like, I want to see the Hunger Games. But I liked what they gave. I would totally see this movie again, and I would totally recommend that you see it in theaters. But what we got from the actual games, oh boy. But with that said, yeah, I really enjoyed Hunger Games. I would totally recommend it. I'm totally going to see it again once it actually comes out in theaters. So that's the rest of my review. So with that said, what did you guys, or I can't even ask that because it's not out yet, but when you see the Hunger Games, come back to this review. Let me know your thoughts about the Hunger Games. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Did you think it was okay? Hopefully you enjoyed it, because I did. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, if you can, really hit that thumbs up button and like this video to help out the channel. If this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. If you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time, and may the odds be ever in your favor.